I got asked today, how much of a freezer stash should I have before I go back to work? This is a really, really good and interesting question. So, to be honest, you really do not need a freezer stash. And there is no reason why you need to be spending additional extra time trying to build a freezer stash. So let's start from the beginning here. So, first of all, when you first have a baby, your body is going to start to produce milk. And after a few days to a week or so, your body's going to switch over to a situation where the amount of milk that you make, it's based on some underlying anatomical and medical conditions that a lactating mom may have, but generally speaking, things switch over to supply and demand. So when your baby eats at the breast, they take out however much milk they need at that moment, and then they do the same thing a couple of hours later. And if you're allowing your baby to feed at the breast, then your body is getting the exact messages of how much your baby needs to eat. And so over time, we'll regulate either up or down, depending on the situation, to produce that amount of milk. When we pump on top of that to create a freezer stash, then we are giving our body signals that we need to make more milk. And though that may sound like a good thing, it also does come along with a lot of problems if you're making significantly more milk than your baby needs. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But do you need a freezer stash? Well, if you are going to be going back to work or knowing that you're going to be separated from your baby, then it is nice to plan for having some milk for that first time that you are away from your baby. So your first day back at work, or let's say every Saturday night you're going to have a date night with your husband and you're going to miss one feeding while you're gone. So you may want over time to pump or hand express small amounts of milk. Perhaps once things have gotten going with your baby and you're in a good rhythm, you could start to pump once a day and store that, pumping after you have nursed your baby. If you are a very, very high producer, you still may not want to completely empty your breast when you do that, though, because again, so anytime your breast is emptied, you are telling your body, make more milk. My baby just ate all the milk that's in my breast. You need to make more. And if you're doing that artificially, then you're more likely to just build more of an overproduction situation that you don't need. So emptying some additional milk, maybe let's say you have 10 more ounces in your breast, just pump 3, the amount that your baby may be taking at a time, 3 or 4 ounces, and leave your breasts full to help your body to regulate. When you do this, you will gradually have enough milk for that first day that you go back to work, or 1 bottle for a date night. And then when you're separated, you are going to then pump the amount of milk that your baby will need for the next day. So you really don't need to have months worth of milk, because assuming you are planning to continue to lactate and pump at work or when you're separated, then you're going to continually produce the amount that your baby needs the next day. Now, date night might be a little bit different depending on how long your date's going to be. You may not need to, or you may plan not to pump while you're out. So then you may need to have some bottles built up for that if you're not replacing them each time you go on your date night. But depending on how long it's going to be, you may want or even need to express some milk while you're away for you simply to be comfortable and to do it safe. So that is the kind of tips behind, do you need a freezer stash? And just some quick things about why you might not want to do that, especially if you are prone to having a high production. Having that high production can lead to blocked ducts and mastitis and nipple blebs and nipple pain and breast pain and all sorts of issues that can go along with hyperlactation. Now, some women don't experience those problems and are high producers and enjoy being high producers, and they donate milk, or they do just store milk for a long, long time, and then when they're ready to be done lactating, they have a lot of milk that they can continue to give their baby by bottle. And if you're one of those people, it's great, but it is a lot of work. If you are pumping after you're nursing your baby frequently, you're losing time that you would have to just enjoy your baby, or to take a nap, or take a walk, or do other things that you may need or want to do to take care of yourself too. So there is no need to develop a freezer stash. And I feel so horrible for people who spend a lot of time developing a freezer stash and then their electricity goes out and they lose it all too. So that can be really hard. Now, there are situations where you are going to create a freezer stash. So for instance, if you have a premature baby who you are separated essentially from, or your baby cannot nurse, and you are trying to build up production for what will be a full-term baby, then you are going to be pumping more than what your baby is eating at that time and wanting to get yourself to the typical volumes that a baby would take, and then you're going to be storing that milk until your baby needs it. So there are situations where it does make sense, but generally speaking, for the majority of people, there's no need for a freezer stash, and you can buy just fine without it. And really, you want to feed your baby, not the freezer. Let me know if you have any questions. Have a great day.